we're gonna go up into space, or at least we're gonna find out what's up there. So Adrian, come on up here and tell us what you found up in space.
All right, thank you very much indeed. Good, well, lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me. So who am I? My name's Adrian Venables. I'm the manager of TalTech's Cybersecurity Masters Programme and head of the Space Centre, a background in the UK military, but when they threw me out because I was too old, the Defence League here kindly took me on for a little bit more, and I tend to look at space as a military domain of operations. So space is really important, and there's an increasing perception of its importance here in Estonia. The Government Space Office had a meeting with the European Space Agency, and ESA said, we have an issue, we are being hacked, we need some help. And the Government Space Officers said, well, that's lucky, because we in Estonia were really good at cybersecurity because we get lots of practice from our neighbour. And so the government said, great, let's do some space cybersecurity, and it fell on me. And so ourselves at TalTech and the University of Tartu, we are now teaching and researching space cybersecurity. And the reason why we're doing this is because in the past, when space was very much a national thing, where you have NASA on one side, European Space Agency doing it, and they were very much isolated. Now, with so many commercial enterprises involved, it has combined, and really space and cyberspace has combined to the extent that you can't look at one without the other, but they are very different, and they have unique attributes that need to be considered. So when you're looking at cybersecurity, you really start needing to look at space as well, and resilience and security is all part of the game. So I won't run through all those, but those are some examples of why space and cyber is really, really important. Obviously, for most of us, the most important element of space is GPS, and where our Bolt taxi comes from, and our robot making sure it goes to the right place. But there are other elements as well. Every time we draw money out of an ATM, that relies upon a GPS signal for timestamping that financial transaction. The electricity generating synchronization, that's done through space as well, through very accurate timing. Agriculture, tractors generally move up and down the fields, controlled by GPS to be more accurate and to make the most from crop yields. So that relies upon space, as well as obviously weather, telecommunications, shipping, logistics. Essentially, we all use space, whether we like it or not, and even when we don't know it, it's there. And space is part of life, and so the security of it is really important. If it all goes wrong, and we're having economic disruption, strategic military effects, because space is very much a target for our adversaries, physical destruction, when things start going wrong, such as power generators and the like, and so you'll get cascading infrastructure failures. So it's really important that space is considered in the wider security realm. Space cybersecurity is part of national security, and although threat actors are mostly nation states, increasingly criminals are getting involved as well. Criminals will follow the money, and they think there's money to be made from ransomware, demands, sabotage, and the like. And so attacks may be criminal or geopolitical. It's the full range of threat actors in space as they are in conventional cybersecurity. And so the architecture for space is more than just a satellite. There are 4 elements. There's the user who's engaged, and that is the most conventional part of cybersecurity. He's the person who needs to know about the threats and the dangers of phishing and the like, and needs normal training. The ground station, that needs securing, but the ground station could be different, because the ground station could be old, it could be legacy, it could be talking to an older satellite, it could have bespoke software. It needs to be considered and needs to be fully secured. Now, the link to the satellite is obviously RF, and that comes under the realm of electronic warfare and is susceptible to all the usual electronic warfare attributes of jamming, spoofing, interception, interference, the whole realm. And that needs to be considered, particularly because satellites generally communicate on a set of known frequencies using well-established protocols, and encryption is not always there. And so that link, that wireless link, needs to be involved, and you need to look at the vulnerabilities with that element. And then finally, the satellite itself, which is way out there and can be very vulnerable. Some satellites are decades old. It's using obsolete hardware. It's using software with known exploitable vulnerabilities. It's transmitting widely across the Earth with known protocols, known frequencies, and satellites have very limited capacity for patching, updating, all the usual cybersecurity things that we would think would be normal. And so every aspect of space architecture has its vulnerabilities which can and have been exploited. There are many examples of satellites that have been compromised, some of which have been destroyed, and others which have been temporarily damaged. And there are really good examples of that which are being used. And cybersecurity is important because if you are looking at attacking a satellite, no nation is realistically going to kinetically destroy a satellite. So for some audience participation, which countries have actually kinetically destroyed a satellite? China? Russia? India, yeah, well done, yes. And?
The United States.
Absolutely, absolutely. So these four countries, they've all demonstrated the use of anti-satellite technology, but it's mutually assured destruction because satellites don't have Star Trek-style shields around them. They're very susceptible to damage from small particles, and there are lots of bits of space junk flying around. The International Space Station occasionally has to maneuver out of the way of space junk, which is being closely tracked by NASA and the European Space Agency. If you destroy a satellite, you have lots of pieces of junk flying around, and the danger is that those pieces of junk will hit other satellites, which will destroy them, and you get more junk and more junk, until ultimately you deny space and in particular orbit to everybody. And this is known as the Kessler effect. And so if kinetic damage or kinetic attacks is not seen as viable to anybody for mutually assured destruction, then cyber attacks are the way ahead. And so that's what everyone is looking to do. And so space cybersecurity is different. Whereas the normal things you would do for cybersecurity to a terrestrial system is well known, you can't do that in space. Space is really extreme. You think of space, well, there's nothing up there, but there's a lot of really hostile things up there to satellites. There's solar radiation, there's solar flares, there's charged particles, all the sort of things that processors and electronic components really, really hate. And there's lots of that up there. And the danger is that your satellite gets compromised by solar radiation, solar flares. You don't actually know, is it malware or is it a natural occurrence? Because you can't look at it and you can't necessarily examine it in depth. And so designing satellites, they need to be self-healing, they need to be resilient, and safety-critical systems are paramount. And so cybersecurity is based more upon availability than it is upon confidentiality. You've got to have the system available, you've got to have it working, and so therefore security may have a lower priority. Satellites also suffer from problems with power, limited power with batteries, solar power, small size. You don't have the infinite power that perhaps you'd have on the ground. You also have issues with communications. The bandwidth is going to be really small. And you're going to have limited memory, limited RAM, and it could be 20 years old. So think about how you would secure a 20-year-old computer that's 400 miles away on a tiny bandwidth that you only have access to for 2 hours every 24 hours. It's very, very challenging. And so, satellites, physically inaccessible, orbital mechanics, limited key exchange, which means you have very limited cryptological options. How do you do key exchange with very limited access? And you could have permanent or temporary memory corruption if you get attacked by a solar flare. It is a very, very harsh environment. So as I said, limited power, limited RAM, limited bandwidth, vulnerable to electronic warfare. Space cybersecurity is very, very different. So the answer is TalTech and Tartu. So it's not all bad news because we are here to save the day with my master's program, which now has a Fundamentals of Space Cybersecurity course. We did our first one this semester, increasing it next year as well, with further exercises are planned. We're looking at developing space cybersecurity exercises. We're looking at doing ground station operations. So we are expanding and developing our space cybersecurity courses and education. We have a website, so we've got to be genuine, and the website's in 2 languages. So you can come to satellite.taltech.ee, and that tells everybody what we're doing, and also, importantly, who our contacts are, because you'd be amazed at the amount of space-related work that is going on in TalTech. I was surprised. So our ground station. For those of you that know TalTech, there's been a ground station, an aerial sitting on top of the mech tree. It was unused, we've taken it over. We have spent a lot of money upgrading it. I am in a lot of trouble from overspending, but it's there and it's massively impressive. Well, we thought it was impressive. And then we had some visitors come, and we didn't think the visitors were impressed enough. And we were massively disappointed with that because we've got software-defined radios, we've got extra screens, extra monitors, we've got satellites dangling from the roof, and the visitors weren't impressed. So we said, right, we will embark upon Operation Pimp Our Ground Station. We will make it impressive. And there we go. It is the only ground station with a glitter ball and LED lights and a fully equipped sound system. It is Club Hollywood in a broom cupboard. And so we have the most impressive ground station in Europe. And there was music as well. So it's there. So come and see the ground station, if only for the glitter ball effect. Oh, it does everything. Yeah, it does everything. And the nice thing about the LEDs, they're wired into the computer systems, and the LED lights change depending upon the temperature of the computers. So when we're working really, really hard, and the computer's about to overheat, the whole thing goes red, for red alert, and that's time to shut the systems down. So we've done our bit, and it is pretty spectacular now. For those of you who are comms geeks, those are the frequencies that it works at, and yep, we're putting extra aerials up, and so really the top of the mech tree building now looks like a CIA spy station. The antenna of the parabolic dish, when it moves around, moves quite quickly, and we have it on a sort of standard search pattern collecting data from satellites, and there's a road that goes by. And one of my greatest hobbies is to stand by the road when the dish is moving around and watch the car drivers look at the dish and not at the car in front and nearly hit the car in front. And in the winter when it's icy, it's great sport. So it does look, pretty good. And the downside of it is that every visitor to TalTech has to come and look at the space station. So we're constantly giving tours. But for you, I have no issues with doing tours. So please come and see us. Other research we want to get involved with, we want to look at radio protocols. We want to look at vulnerability testing. We want to do some drone work, see if we can analyze some long-range drone tracking. We look at more communications and radio astronomy. If you want to get interested in that, come and see our system and point it at a quasar and see what you can pick up. We've got a lot of student research going on in conjunction with the Student Satellite Foundation and S-Cube-3, our latest satellite. Some of the work that's going on. The main one is we are putting security into Estonia's next satellite, a CubeSat. Usually CubeSats don't have security, but we have security. And the person who is probably the most expert in small satellite security at the moment is my colleague and student, Joanna, who is there. Wave, Joanna, there, who's very shy now, I've pointed her out. But more of an expert than I am. Writing use cases, doing paperwork for the European Space Agency, and implementation of authentication and authorization in the satellite. So, we have some real experts doing very well here. We're looking at encrypting satellite communications to S-Cube-3, which is unusual and rare in small satellites, so that's very novel work. Looking at some supply chain integrity, blockchain-based supply chain integrity, and also developing some exercises in conjunction with the Space Cyber Range in CR14. So we're getting everybody involved with this. So that's a student satellite program. Bottom right, the two rectors from the two universities are holding the satellite, and that's it, it's real size. It's not that the rectors are 5 meters tall, and it's a big satellite, they are normal height, but it's a very small satellite, and so hence you can see why putting security into something that small, as well as its normal payload of cameras, sensors, and all the other processors, and inertia reels to have it pointing against the sun and everything else, it's really challenging. So that's why space cybersecurity is really exciting, really interesting, and different, and quite novel work. Now, for the Estonian speakers, we are introducing a space operations microdegree. So if you want to come and study with us, these are courses which are already being run at the university across all the schools, and we brought them together. You don't have to do all those courses, some of them are electives, but you can come to us, do existing courses from different schools, lump it together, and it's a microdegree in space operations in Estonian only at the moment, because some of those courses are in Estonian. So we have this, and we're the first ones to offer this in Estonian, obviously, but space operations degrees are rare, and we have brought these in. So we're right at the forefront within Europe. So, to summarize, space and cybersecurity, they're all one and the same. You can't avoid them. You've got to combine them and understand it. This seamless integration between orbital assets and terrestrial digital networks needs to be considered at all points. We rely upon space, whether we think we do or not. It's there, it's invisible, but we need it. Some data processing systems require space assets. Resilience and security, it's all space. And Estonia, I say we as a foreigner, but we are leading Europe in this, and we are really pushing this, and ESA is very happy with what we're doing. And it's our aim to make Estonia essentially the centre of gravity for space cybersecurity. So everyone comes to us, and I'm very happy, and I sort of shout loudly from the rooftops about this. So we're doing well, and I want to keep doing well. That's how I dress at weekends. Does anybody have any questions?
So, okay, there's multiples there as well. Let's get some newcomers in for questions. Go.
Can you talk briefly about some of the challenges around maintaining integrity on GPS, GLONASS, and Galileo, and particularly the challenges that's resulted in the aviation industry in Estonia?
Yeah, absolutely. So GPS signals are extremely weak. You'd be amazed how weak they are. So they are very, very easily jammed and spoofed. There have been examples of spoofing and denial of GPS. GPS wasn't really designed to counter mass jamming, and so it is something that is open to research, but also it's more mitigation now. You can't resolve it just because of the physics. And so, as we've seen with Tartu, when Tartu Airport was closed for a while, it's a case of looking at where those vulnerabilities are, putting in mitigation measures. But partly the thing about space cybersecurity is understanding the risk. So understanding what your dependencies are and planning to counter that. because the threat always exists. Physics means that GPS can be jammed, and so assuming that it is, how do you counter it and how do you get around it? And there are other options in terms of timing, using atomic clocks, accurate, localized time measurements. But it is absolutely something that's really important, and it's something that we really push the understanding of.
Right, there are many questions. Adrian, are you sticking around after this a little bit?
For the questions, absolutely.
Absolutely. So look at, find him and find her and ask them questions. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Round of
Thank you,
applause,
Marty.
please.
Thank you.